Behind me is the Zeekr 001, and you can already see by how far I have to zoom out on how big of a car this is. My name is Peter, and today we're having a closer look at this first Zeekr car here in the Netherlands at least. And it is a huge vehicle indeed. 2 meters wide, 4.95 meter long, and Zeekr calls this a sporty fastback. So think Audi A7, of course Porsche Panamera, and maybe even a Kia EV6 falls under that term. It is quite the looker and quite the vehicle that you're operating on the road, based solely on its footprint. I think the front here can be a little bit polarizing. You either love it or hate it, I think, because we got the daytime running lights up here. And then if we go a little bit further down, we have sort of a Bugatti Chiron style 4 beams for the main headlights. It's pretty good. It looks nice in the dark, and especially in this light blue color. It looks pretty nice during the day as well in the sunlight here. It's a nice kind of blue. And there's some cool accents here, because if you look at the logo, for example, you can see that it has this orange underside of it, and that looks really nice. And I really like details like that, where car makers go the extra step to make their vehicles look good. While we are here at the front, let's have a look at the frunk situation. This might not look like much, but it is actually a bit bigger than it looks like. There's the tire pressure kit in here at the moment, but this is big enough for some small shopping, some small extras. I personally have some wiper fluid and stuff in there in my own Xpeng, and it just makes it so much more usable than having to stuff everything in the trunk. Especially because in this car the trunk isn't as big as you might expect. It's also nice and clean. I like this way of dealing with a frunk, so everything is hidden. Not entirely practical, so for example behind this flap here is your wiper fluid, and that is a bit of a kerfuffle to get it out. But you know, there it is. And then there's another panel here with the battery, for example. Walking past the car, you can really get an idea of the scale of the vehicle. 22-inch rims here, so that is definitely not something you want to scuff at the McDonald's drive-thru. And the whole thing weighs 2,300 plus kilos, so it is a big boy for sure. And it looks nice though, it's still proportionate despite its size. Here on the back, another set of very interesting tail light design. Also something that you really have to like, but it is, I think, a good looking car from the rear. Especially with this spoiler situation here. I hope you can see that properly. This is a good angle. So there's proper aero going on, even though you'll probably never notice that, of course. While at the rear, let's open the boot. I already said not as big as you might expect for a vehicle this size, and it really isn't that big. But that is mainly due to the sloping roofline here in the back. It's still, you know, easily big enough for your weekend away. Even a small holiday with the family is not an issue. I left the charging cables in there for scale. And yeah, it's very practical and usable. Now there is a bit of a rubber mat in here, but there is a false floor for some extra storage, as you can see, with another charging cable and some hazard equipment. So, you know, not the biggest class-leading boot, and obviously smaller than all the SUVs, but still very, very usable. So that's the Zeekr 001 on the outside. Let me guys know, how do you feel about the design? I quite like it. I think it's an elegant looking car despite its size. It sort of hides its size a bit, even though that's not the case when you're driving, but we'll get to that in a second. First, we're going to have a look inside, because there's a lot to see there as well, and then we're going to hit the road. Of course, we're doing a full cockpit tour, and for those of you who pay close attention, I am indeed sitting quite far away from the steering wheel. You can barely reach it like this. Obviously, this is not how I drive, because that would be dangerous. I like a relaxed driving position, but this is a bit extreme. This is the comfort mode. To get in and out of the car, the steering wheel retracts and the seat goes backwards to make it easier for the driver to move around. As soon as I press the brake pedal and hit D, everything will come towards me and all will be well. The cabin is an interesting blend of materials and textures and visuals that work together quite well, I think. It's interesting, for example, that we have blue seats here in the front and white seats in the back. But in general, it is a blue top part of the cabin and a creamish white lower part. Although on some places it gets a bit bananas, like here on the door. So we have the blue leather on top, then we have some kind of suede, then this mosaic element, then the ambient lighting in this chrome strip that's also the door handle, then the suede again, then the white leather, and the speaker grille. So that there's quite a lot going on, and a bit too much if you ask me. I do understand that a door has to be a little bit more in this price bracket than just a slab of black plastic, but you know, there's a lot of stuff happening here, and that's even before you get to the ambient lighting over here. The whole cabin is an exercise in minimalism, obviously. Basically a complete absence of buttons. That is mostly adamant here in the door, that there's only window controls and nothing for the mirror. That has to be done through the screen and the steering wheel. And that's where we run into the biggest issue with this cabin, and that is the capacitive touchpads here on the steering wheel. They are an absolute disaster. I think we saw it in a Polestar or a Lexus in a video from last year. See if I can find which one it is. But this doesn't work. Whoever approved this in a meeting needs to be fired, because it is a complete disaster to operate. Mainly because not only is there no markings on the pads, but you operate it through the head-up display. And that is bad for so many reasons. So first of all, you can't see what you're doing without having to look at the head-up display. And the functions change. So sometimes it's the radio, sometimes it's a warning that you have to click away. Other times it's your cruise control, and you have to do everything on the head-up display. That's not good in general, but also because most of the times I drive with sunglasses on, and head-up displays are notoriously bad with sunglasses, and this one in particular, I just can't see what's on the head-up display. So that doesn't work. And on top of that, when you're holding the steering wheel, 9 out of 10 times you're pressing those capacitive pads with the inside of your thumb, making you, because it vibrates, and then you're like, oh, what's happening? And there is something going on, and you're distracted. Absolute disaster. To operate, you have to first touch the pad, then on the head-up display will appear what are the available functions at the moment, and then you can operate. So it is even more steps to do the thing you think you might want to do, because you can't see what it is, and it is context dependent. In the newer Zeekrs, this is an older model, of course, they've replaced this with joysticks, and it is so bad that if I would order this car, I would beg Zeekr to rip it out and put one of those steering wheels in, or find some kind of aftermarket solution, because it's just not good. So that's my rant of the steering wheel and capacitive buttons over. Other than that, it is all fine. It's a normal steering wheel with a slightly flat bottom. Through the steering wheel, my driver's display, letterbox size, so nothing going wrong there. 2 additional, not real displays, but clusters next to it for your warning lights. So your indicator lights, but also when your wiper fluid is low and those kind of things. So that's nice, because I initially thought they were extra bits of unnecessary plastic, or potentially bits for video feeds from digital side mirrors. But they're not, so they're just for your warning lights. All your other information comes from the big screen. You can see it here in the homepage with some tiles that you can obviously customize. And then once you start going through it, you have the familiar menus where you can do basically anything you want with the car. Set it up just the way you want. Anything from how long the lights stay on, how far your seat goes back, and however you want the car to greet you. So that is nice, and it's everything you expect from a modern system. Interestingly, this is also a good example of cars that are of age, not really already, but this car has 30,000 kilometers on it. And Zeekr says this is a different car now than it was when it launched because of the software updates. And that's true. There's so much you can do with the software, especially in these connected cars, especially in these EVs. Just by programming different parts of the car, you can really change anything from the air conditioning pump running a bit harder, making it a bit colder inside, to giving you more range thanks to a more efficient algorithm. You name it, it is all possible. So that's really cool, and a nice example of how well software could work. Downside of the screen is that all the klima controls are in there as well, and that is obviously something that I don't like, as you know from previous videos. It is just cumbersome to use. When you're standing still like this, it's all fine, and you can touch the targets on point, but when you're driving and your arm is moving, it is too much work, too many steps to change a simple thing like the airflow direction. A simple slider here would do the job, and that I don't think that sort of impacts the aesthetics of the design too much, and that the designer can't sleep anymore. It's just more functional to have physical controls. Luckily, Zeekr gives us a few physical controls in the form of this capacitive bar here on top of the middle console. I'm not really sure why though, because the buttons, quote unquote, they have on there are for your window heating, your alarm lights, your opening of the boot, and opening the glove box. So there is an actual button here, capacitive, that opens the glove box, which is nonsense. I don't care what anybody in the comments says. This is not a solution for anything. This is not an invention that needed to happen. Those R&D dollars could have been better spent to make a better steering wheel. And these buttons are, yeah, I understand we need a button for the alarm lights, but all the other buttons could have been in this screen. I don't really think this adds anything, unless you do it the Peugeot way and you let the user program the buttons here. That is actually functional, but here they're preset and stuck. So don't really see why, to be honest. Underneath we have the wireless charging pad. My phone and my sunglasses are there now, and we have a Porsche Cayenne inspired grab handle for some reason. Maybe if you go cornering a bit too crazy, but okay. We have that same motif as on the door here in the middle, with a small and a big cup holder for your various drinks. Not really sure why that is necessary, but okay. And a physical volume control. Not really sure why, I suppose for the passenger, and it's nice to have actually when you're sitting here. It's easy to operate with your fingertips, but you can play, pause, mute, and do volume control there. Handy, quite okay. Then the drive selector, I'm not sure if it has to look like the car, if it has to represent the car, but it looks a bit like a small computer mouse. Simple R and D and a P button. A split opening armrest for some extra USBs, storage, and your 12-volt connection, and that is all. This whole unit is floating, so underneath there is some storage, but it is hard to access when the seat is a bit further forward. It's really awkward to reach. So that's not the best solution, but it is nice to have some extra space there to put things that are then out of the way and out of sight as well. That is the cockpit. You've probably noticed already that there is quite a lot of light coming from above thanks to the panoramic roof. Not strictly necessary with this lightish interior, but always nice to have extra light, so that's good. It is uncovered, but it is heavily tinted, so you don't sit here roasting on sunny days. You only get the benefit from all the light, and there's no real downsides to it, but it is always exposed. And that is the cockpit for you. The seats are comfortable, I fit easily, so that is always very pleasant for me. And it is a large car, and it feels like a large car in here. Luckily, there is a lot of adjustments in the seats and in the steering wheel and everything else around you, so that you can get comfortable and really feel in control of the vehicle, which is necessary with this much power and this much size and weight. So yeah, job well done by Zeekr to make that work in such a way that you really feel as the commander of your vehicle. So that's good. And yeah, apart from the steering wheel then and the capacitive strip there is not really anything to complain about here. Special mention for the sound system, and that is by Yamaha here. Excellent system. There is a few adjustments here. If we go to sounds in the menu, we can have a jazz club and theater Yamaha S3D sound effect. There is some settings you can put for the various media. There's a very basic equalizer, and there is a few things that you can set to have your optimal sound experience. Nothing audiophile level shocking or anything, but a few adjustments are always appreciated as well. Obviously a little bit of driving, and today we start on the highway. Obviously the first thing you notice with this car is its size. As soon as you set off, you realize that this is a large vehicle. And it really is. It's basically 5x2, so 10 square meters of car, and that is a lot of space you're taking up on the road. For comparison, the Kia EV9 is also 5x2, the Neo EL8 is I think 510x2, so those are huge vehicles, and this one is no different. It takes a bit of getting used to that you are taking up that much space on the road. Especially when you go in city driving, for example, parking structures. I've said it in many other reviews too. This kind of size requires you to pay attention when things get slightly tighter, where other cars don't struggle at all. This size makes you pay attention what you're doing. Luckily, there are a lot of aspects of this vehicle that give you the confidence to handle a vehicle like this. It's four-wheel drive. You have a great view out. There's a lot of light here. The cameras are excellent, like I already said. The sensors work fine. There's a lot of power available, so there's a lot of performance. The brakes are excellent as well, so you can stop the whole thing again. And those things are necessary to give you the confidence to manhandle this vehicle, so you will. Because it does require confidence to drive this kind of car around. Now that confidence is of course also necessary to deal with the power, 400 kilowatts, so that's nearly 600 horsepower. in this version, and that is a lot of power. This is an absolutely fast car, and if you don't watch out, you're easily doing speeds within no time that will make you lose your license here in the Netherlands. That in itself can be slightly tempting to do stupid stuff, so it does require some discipline. And when you have to bring it all back to a stop with the huge brakes, you do feel the mass of the vehicle, because braking is a key area where you really find out how heavy a vehicle is. Because you can throw a lot more power at a car and it will go quicker, but when you have to stop it, you notice also how heavy this car is. With all that power though, there is basically no situation in normal traffic that you cannot handle. You can take this car to Germany and start bullying Porsches and Audis, no issues whatsoever. And in normal day-to-day Dutch traffic, you're always basically one of the fastest cars around. So merging, overtaking, getting out of situations, making space for somebody, it's all so easy and so nice. And that's really the benefit of having a lot of horsepower under your foot. I've had this car for a week, and there is several driving modes available. I've had it in the normal mode basically all week. When you put it in the sport mode, I said the same thing of the Zeekr X that we reviewed earlier, the gas pedal becomes too sensitive, and especially in city driving and day-to-day driving, it becomes jerky, and the movements in your foot have to be so precise in order to make the drive smooth that it's not comfortable to drive anymore. In the normal mode, you have this elasticity of a pleasant drivetrain with a lot of power, but with a little bit of delay and a bit of flexibility in the pedal that allows you a bit more compliance when it comes to smooth driving, which is very nice and very important, especially when you have people sitting next to you or in the back. Because as a driver, obviously you have the steering wheel to hold on to, and you know what you're doing, so you know what's coming, but the people next to you, they don't want that jerky feel. When you do put it in sport mode, it becomes a complete missile. It's so fast, faster than anything around, that, like I said, you can go to Germany and start bullying Porsches. But here in Dutch traffic, a bit of morning rush hour still going on, it is nice and compliant in that normal mode, and it makes it a very pleasant driving experience. Here in the back, we can hopefully take advantage of the size and especially the length of the vehicle with the space. And I have to say, first impressions are excellent, because for somebody 90 kilos, 1.83 meters, there is a lot of room back here. So that is off to a good start. What's not so good though is the headroom. With 1.83 meters, if I'm laying on the headrest, then my head is touching the roof. So anybody taller than me is going to have issues back here. Luckily, you can put the seats slightly more upright, and then you have a little bit more room. So that is nice. You can control the seats, by the way, through the middle screen over here. That also controls lights and audio and some settings for the ventilation, so that's nice. The front seats have a hard back, so that is not ideal for anybody taller than me, but please bear in mind that the driver's seat is still in the comfort setting for easier in and out. So as soon as I start driving, these seats will go forward about this much further, so then there's even more space here. Even though you're probably not going to sit here if you're taller than me, because it doesn't fit with the roof. There's also a net in the back of the seat that feels a bit cheapy for a car like this, but at least there is something there. The seats are not super massive, even though they're one piece. I can still have a good contact with the front, which is important when you're driving around with kids here. Because you don't want to feel too disconnected, and it is a long vehicle, which you really notice if you're sitting on the passenger seat and you have to hand something to your kids. Then you really see like, oh, it's quite the stretch, it's far away. But kids here don't feel neglected, because there is a lot of light and there's a good connection to the front. They can see the big screens, they can see what's going on, so that is good. What's not so good though is the ISOFIX situation, because these covers are loose. Apparently nobody at Zeekr has kids, because this is a terrible idea. Fix this. My boys are 8 and 11, so they don't need car seats anymore, but even with car seats, there's still enough space for kids here, and they don't get stuck against the seats of the driver and the passenger. There's also an armrest in this third seating position. It is a full-size seat, so that's nice. You can probably sit here with 3 adults for a short journey without too many issues. If you pull this little loop here, you pull the whole armrest out, and then it becomes this giant unit with buttons on the side for the seat back control. So you can use the buttons here instead of the screen. Quite nice. The cup holders are permanently exposed, which I don't like, but because it's such a long unit, they are not in the way. You're not constantly in them with your elbow or anything. So that's good. There is also some extra storage in it. If I lift this up, you can see it here, which is a bit pointless because it is this deep and you can't fit anything more than a small notebook and a pen, which I'm sure some people like here in the back, but I'm not really sure why you want to do that, because there's also no USBs or anything in there to charge your phone. So I don't know. There's also no ski hatch, by the way, so no through-putting or through-loading there either. Put that back up. There are two USBs down here in a little extra flap under the little screen. It is a USB-C and a USB-A, so nice and versatile. And it's nice that you can actually flip that back up and out of the way, so it is not something you kick with your foot. So that's excellent. All round, it is a quite nice back seat, I have to say. Plenty of light thanks to the panoramic roof. There's also plenty of light from the side windows, so always going well, and the quality of the materials feels very solid as well. So that's nice. It's a good place to be, and like I said, especially the connection to the front is really nice. You feel you're in a big vehicle also here in the back, but it gives you a nice sense of air and space. Obviously here on the highway, that driving experience is again enhanced by the four-wheel drive, but also the weight and the size of the vehicle, because a big, large, heavy car makes for a comfortable drive in general. The excellent air suspension, you can adjust it in ride height and in stiffness as well. Also, again, making it so comfortable for long distance cruising, which you can certainly do because you have that large battery underneath. You have that fastback shape, so you know, throw your kids and your family in the back, some luggage for a weekend away in the boot, and off you go. And it's just a car with so much capability that it's always pleasant to drive. Add to that the fact that when I sit here, I can find a very good driving position for myself, which is not something to take for granted, because I say in plenty of videos that I don't fit in the seat. This is nice. I fit, my back fits, and I can be comfortable here. And thanks to all the adjustments, I can also find a good seating position to make me in control of my vehicle, which is again key when you have such a large, powerful car underneath you. So it's nice. I have a great view out. I can see the flanks of the car really well. I feel that I'm the one driving the car rather than the other way around. And it just makes for an all-round pleasant experience. So that's great. There's nothing really fundamentally to complain about with this car. I think the basics are done right. Everything from the power to the drivetrain to the space in here. It's all very pleasant, but there are particularities to this car, like the horrible capacitive touchpads, for example, that just don't work. And there's general things like, for example, the climate controls in the screen that are generally annoying in every car. That is the same in my Xpeng, for example, that has the same setup. It is always annoying. Physical buttons are better. But yeah, other than that, the interior is nice, the quality feels good, everything feels well put together, the materials are great. So yeah, it makes it really nice to be in this car. This version in particular is 75k, which is a lot of money, and if you drive this car as a corporate drive, then I think you can start asking questions if it's necessary that you sit by yourself in a car this size, even though it's an EV. As far as that goes, I think there's a sweet spot to be had, for example, in the 7X Zeekr that we're going to drive next week. I think that is a more all-round suitable car for your primary vehicle. But we'll see about that when we actually drive it. This is so big that you need to be driving it with more people. If you just by yourself, I don't know if that's really necessary. There is already a version, I think, at 55,000 for this vehicle with only rear-wheel drive and a few less toys. So, you know, there's quite a price range, and there's also above this one, there's still a sort of a racy version. I don't think that's necessary at all, to be honest. If you can afford it, definitely go for this one because it has everything, more power than you ever need. It looks great, and I think if you choose your color options wisely, then you have a great looking vehicle. So yeah, all around it's nice, it's pleasant, it's a good way to travel, you know, with a great view out, all that power, your excellent Yamaha stereo for your tunes. I got my tea right here, so yeah, it's very pleasant to cover distance in this vehicle. If you can live with the fact that if you drive it in and around a city, it becomes a bit cumbersome, then it's great. It's a nice car. And that's all I got for you in this video. Thank you very much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you like it, and if there's things that we can improve, please let us know in the comments. And really do that. I mean that when I ask for feedback from you guys. as long as you keep it semi-respectful and it's positive feedback that we can actually use. I read all the comments myself, and I make sure that I write back to most of you. So if you have something to add or something to improve the videos, please let us know, because we do really listen. In the meantime, give it a sub for the channel if you don't want to miss any kind of future videos, and I'll catch you guys later.